Today, Julie's making a traditional English lemon sponge cake. It is a simple and generous cake with 3 layers, butter icing and lemon curd. This is not about perfection, it is about making a proper cake at home, step by step, for people you care about.
Good morning. Today I'm going to be making a traditional English lemon sponge. It's going to have 3 layers and it's going to have lemon curd and butter icing, and it will be yummy. First thing we need to do is to line up some tins. Now what we've done first of all is just wipe some butter around, and then I've cut out these little circles with baking parchment paper, and we're going to pop them in the bottom. And what I'm also going to do, because I'm slightly paranoid about it sticking on the sides, and there is all butter on the sides, so I'm going to take a little bit of my flour and pop that around the edges too. Won't take a lot, so I'm going to pop that in there. Like that, and then just carefully go right around the outside. You can actually do this all over the bottom instead of the paper, should you prefer. There we go. How on earth did I get flour all over me already? There we go, sorted. So next I'm going to take my butter. Now I've chopped mine into cubes to try and get it to room temperature, because I forgot to get it out of the fridge last night, so I've had to pop it in the microwave. However, if you're more organised than me, you will actually get it out the night before and it will be at room temperature and perfect to use. But as you can see, it's nice and soft now, so it's perfect to go in. So what I'm going to do is mix this together with a whisk with the sugar. Now I'm using my trusty whisk here. If you wanted to, you could use a hand whisk like this, or if you want to go old school, you could do it by hand, but you'd be there quite a while, I think, and get it moving. Oh, perfect. Look how nice and soft that is. Lovely. I'm going to add my sugar, pop it all in and turn it up so that it blends together nicely. The idea is you want to cream it, so you're looking for it to form a nice soft paste. The longer the better, really. Right, this is now ready. You'll see, if you look now, it's really nice and pale. Look, I'll pop it out so you can see the lovely colour. It's changed considerably and it's gone nice and soft. If I now touch it, you can see, look at that, it's beautiful. Lovely. Right, next thing I'm doing is breaking my eggs into a bowl. Now I'm going to give it a little whisk by hand, just really to combine it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And yes, I am splashing it everywhere, that's fine. Now I've got my flour here. The idea at this point, I'm going to just add a little baking powder to my flour actually. With my amounts, it's 2. Okay, so what we're going to do now is add the egg and the flour and baking powder to this mixture. So I'll pop him back in. There we go. Now you do it slowly is the idea. Slap, whoop. There we go, lovely. Now the flour and the baking powder should actually be sieved. So you can either do it all, sieve it all into one big bowl ahead of time, which would have been the more intelligent move. However, I haven't done that. So I'll be just doing a little bit at a time. The idea is that you stop the eggs from curdling the mix. So you just put a little bit of flour in with each piece of egg that you add, and you give it a whisk. Nice and slowly, so you don't agitate it too much and make the flour flow. And you just carry on until it's all combined and it makes a lovely mixture. A little bit of egg. Next thing I'm going to do while I'm whisking that is to take the zest off these 2 lemons. Just going to make sure I push all the sides down to make sure everything gets combined. Occasionally you find these little pockets of flour or something that don't actually get into the mix. There's some butter in that one, so yeah, good idea. I don't think you'll be able to see, but in this bit here I can see it's a bit yellow where the butter hasn't quite got mixed. So that's all mixed together. I'm happy with that. I do need to add this to it, but not quite all of it. I need to try and keep approximately a quarter so I can put it into the butter icing, so that'll give it a little extra oomph. Just about that much will be fine. Doesn't have to be perfect quantities, it's just a little bit. That should be good. Right, so I'll put that aside for later. Okay, so that's all of the lemon in. Give it one last mix. So then it's time to add it to the tins. Look at that, it's beautiful, look. Lovely. Right, here we go. The idea is now to divide it up between all 3 tins so they are equal. Otherwise you will have different size layers and obviously that won't look quite so pretty. Obviously having equal layers will also mean that they all cook at the same time. So the next job is to gently, with a spatula or a knife, to push the mixture around until it reaches the edges, like this one, and it lays flat.
Oh, good.
They do look good, don't they? They look lovely. Right, I'll just use this to get the last of my mix. So next we're going to pop these in the oven. So they're all finished. I'm getting them out of the oven. And as you can see, they've risen nicely, nice and golden. I'll pop them on here just to cool down. And at this point, I should tell you that they've been in the oven for about 30 minutes. I've got a fan oven, so they were on 160 degrees. If you have a conventional or an ordinary oven, as he calls it, then they need to go at about 180 degrees. You know when they're done, by the way, when you press the top, can you see they bounce back nicely? Now, I did have to leave these in for a few minutes more than I thought because they weren't bouncing back. They were kind of, my fingerprint staying in. You can see they're bouncing back nicely now. Or you can go old school and use a small skewer that you just pop in the top just gently and go through. What you're looking for is lovely clean sides that you've got no mixture left, which we don't, so that's fine. So let's have a go. Let's have a go getting this one out, shall we? So I'm just going to gently go around the sides. I can feel it's not stuck there. So what I'm going to do with this one is take my trusty cooling tray and pop it on top. It's still quite hot, so I'm having to use these, so I'm going to fumble a little bit, but there's no way around it really. You grab hold of it and turn it over. Here we go. Oh, looking good. And then you just need to very gently peel this off. Sooner the better so it doesn't cool down and get stuck. Don't worry about that. That always happens, there's no way around it. Okay, I'm really pleased. As you can see, they're nice and big, so this cake's going to be enormous, but there we go. It's actually for my sister's birthday. They're all coming over tomorrow to eat, so I decided to make the sponges today. I'll now leave them to dry off and cool down a bit, and then later on I will stack them overnight and keep them till tomorrow in like a Tupperware container. You, however, can carry on with the next bit, which is the making of the icing and the lemon curd, but I'm going to go in the garden because the sun is out. And it's nearly February and it's just too lovely out there and I've got loads of jobs to do. So I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be back.
Yeah, we're back.
Right, we're back. This is what I put my cake in yesterday because it was such a monster. It didn't go in my normal one. So here are my 3 layers. I think Francesco just told me he's going to give you the recipe ingredients for 2 layers and 3. So you'll have to see how many you're feeding. But as you can see, I've actually used some tin foil that I had left over just to pop in between, just to stop them from sticking together really. So I'll put them over to the side there, so that's ready to decorate. First protocol is the butter icing. As you can see here, I've got my butter and my icing sugar. I'm just going to pop them into my mixer. And then I'll get that going. So this was the rind I left over from yesterday. Lovely, I'm happy with that. As you can see, it's a lovely texture, nice and soft. Bearing in mind it's going to go in the middle of the cake, I need to make sure that it's reasonably firm. But if you wanted it a little bit softer, you could add just a little bit of milk. I'm not going to though. There we go. Right, next port of call, lemon curd. If you wanted to be really organised, you could make your own, and I would have done, but sometimes in a cake there's a lot going on, I can't really see the benefits, so I bought some from the local supermarket. However, if you do want to make your own, then there's a link up here. By all means, you can just use a jar. This is actually quite a cheap jar, so to zhuzh it up a bit, I'm going to add some lemon juice, and that will give it that feel of being a little bit more expensive or homemade. Obviously, you could buy a more expensive jar of lemon curd, and then to be perfectly honest, that would be lovely. But what I'm going to do, as I've got 2 layers, I'm just going to have a bit of a judgment call on how much I need. I think a bit more than that, maybe a good half a jar. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So this is the juice from the lemons that we used yesterday for the zest. I've just added a little, and I'm just going to give it a little stir. You don't want it too thin and runny, obviously, because then it will just run out of the size of your cake. But as you can see, that's come up quite nicely there. You can smell the lemon, it's lovely. There we go, I'm happy with that. I'll keep that for something else. Now that's all done. Okay, so next port of call, I need to find something to put this on, and I haven't thought about that, Francesca, so let me go and get that, hang on. Right, here I am with my trusty cake stand. I've had this for years and she's a bit scratched and she's got the odd chip, but she still works beautifully and I think she's so pretty, so I'm going to use that for today. So I think I more or less looked at this last night and decided this was a good top, and these are my two internal ones. So I'm going to lift that up. Yeah, you see I should have put a piece on the bottom. I'll put that in the middle there. Now this has got a little bit of a lip on it, so we'll make that the back. This will be our top. And I'm now going to divide up my lemon onto this one. Okay, and then I'm going to spread that over nicely. The idea is to kind of get a little bit of a bulge on the edge, and then it might just sort of gently droop down onto the cake. Let me pop a little bit more on there. I guess when you think about it, you can never have too much lemon curd in a cake. There we go, I'm happy with that. Moving on to this one now, I'm going to put a layer on here. This will obviously then be inside of the cake. Okay, so here's the butter icing, looking very lovely. Now I need to really divide that up between here and here, I think. So I'll more or less take a scoop of about half. Okay, and then the idea is that we now need to spread some of this on top. Now I'm just going to bob it around so it's vaguely in the right position, otherwise you'll just end up pushing all of the lemon curd off the side, and that's not quite the idea for what we're doing now. Oh gosh, it smells so good. Right, here we go. As you can see, I'm just gently edging it in the right direction. Close to the side, because I would like it to be bulging out of the side, and I'd like to be able to see it. There we go. Can you see what I mean? Look, lemon curd's now starting to drizzle. Oh. Can't wait for this. I thought that looked good. That's our roast meal that we're doing. Francesco's got variations of these recipes all on his page. This looks good. I'm a bit of a sweet tooth girl, so I love anything sweet. Right, there we go. A bit more I want to get over here. How's that look? What do you think, Francia?
Looks lovely.
Okay, that's the first one. So that's obviously the base. I'm now going to do the same with this one and then lift it up and pop it on top. Lift that up and pop her on there. Now, one thing you'll learn with my cooking, it might not look the best, but it should taste good.
I think it looks wonderful.
I'll reiterate that. Yeah, it might not look the neatest, but it should taste nice. And this is our top. Just going to find the nicest piece, which I think is there. And there she is. Okay, so now I'm going to pop a little bit more of my lemon curd mix on the top. I'll gently push that around so it covers the top. And then if a little bit drizzles down the side, that's all good, isn't it? And then this is the little bit of magic, icing sugar in a shaker. Now obviously I'll give it a little shake now to show you my effect. But I'll also do the same again just before I serve. I'll give it another little coating. There we go. How does that look?
Looks good.
Should taste delicious. It is enormous. It's a beast. But there we are. What I've also now got, if you're very creative, you might want to get your icing, and you could do, you know, icing shapes on top. You could do happy birthday or whatever. However, I think there's quite enough going on in this cake. So I've got some little plastic happy birthdays and some candles and things which I'll be putting on a bit nearer the time. But basically, that's done.